It's B-I-A-N-C-H-I.
Richard spelled R-I-C-H-A-R-D.
Correct.
Okay. When did you first meet the stick man stew concept?
Jane introduced me to these guys, last fall sometime. I can't, it was pre-Christmas season, and that was my first encounter, and so I wound up purchasing two of these little friends in a local retail shop.
And what'd you do with them? You're kind of a big guy, you're the county attorney for heaven's sakes, and you're out there buying dolls?
Well, but I also had two grandchildren. And I knew that the dolls were going to wind up being a gift to them. And the question was, well, when? And before I was able to have some time with them, it was Christmas season. And I was in another local retailer, and there were even more of the family. So I purchased two more. So now I had four, and these four family members became Christmas gifts to my two granddaughters, and it was a fun time.
You said that in listening to Jane's conversation that the family, the crew, the friends, the buddy are just as important to the parents when they buy them, or the grandparents, as they are to the kids. Why so? And rephrase that question in your conversation.
You know, none of us are perfect at being parents, and we need tools to communicate with our children. That age gap, that point of reference is so different for us, and some people are creative and imaginative like Jane and have these abilities. Perhaps older lawyers like me have a tougher time with little ones, and these fellas are communication tools. They allow us to have a partner in that discussion with the children, and the children relate to them and have fun with them in a way that opens the door to conversations about issues that maybe otherwise just wouldn't be realistic. Whether that's, if we want to use the word respect, but that can come forward in many ways. Good manners, don't lie, don't argue so much, but if you use this intermediary to communicate the message, it helps the parents or grandparents so much to be of value to those kids.
Example.
Well, at Christmas, when I was with my granddaughters, which is a wonderful time anyway, and amidst all the packages and toys, here sat this little family that they hadn't paid a lot of attention to. They loved them, and it was fun. But then we got into a situation where they had also received other gifts. The 6-year-old had books to read, and she's really into reading. The 3-year-old had puzzles to put together. Well, she's equally enamored with her puzzles. The two of them wanted the undivided attention of Granddad to watch them do their thing. And it, of course, became a little tug of war. It was an open invitation for a little bit of learning. How do you do that as a grandparent or parent? Well, sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not. But it was so simple to turn to these guys and say, well, let's see how the Stick family would work on this. And would they argue? And in a way, they can become puppets at that time, where you use them to talk to each other about, I want to read out loud, I want to put my puzzle together, back and forth, and then perhaps they work it out a little bit. Well, I'll watch you put your puzzle together if you'll listen to me read first, or whatever the adult wants to convey, but in that manner, it allows us to communicate, whereas before we were probably talking way over their head. And it was probably more important for me than the kids, actually, but it was a great experience for those kids and their granddad to have a serious moment about respect and taking turns and it just worked out wonderful. That's exactly what we did. We read for a while, and the three of us, and of course the Stick family, shared that, and then we shifted to the puzzles. Good moment. And I hope that Creator Jane will take that and expand in her toolbox to perhaps present some stories or concrete examples like that the parents can have and go into these situations with to guide them, because we don't have enough tools for parents and grandparents to teach their kids these values.
Perfect. You're a judge, or have been a judge. You're currently county attorney.
Correct.
You're probably put in a position frequently to deal with family violence, abuse. You're not a family court, but you deal with, I'm sure you've been around that. Is that correct?
Well, actually, the county attorney is involved in both the juvenile cases, the Children's Protective Service cases in the court. So, yes, we see it week in and week out, and it's terribly sad.
How could these characters play a role in helping those kiddos?
As I mentioned before, there's nothing magic about the training any of us receive at being parents. And if we can give the parents, of whatever level of education or training or whatever perhaps their parents had been like, simple tools to do it different, to do it better, then we've given a great gift to families, and we may just have a way to teach those parents some values that they can pass to their children that otherwise is just completely missing.
So it's as important for the adults as it is for the message that the family delivers.
I think that when parents or grandparents go into the toy store and these guys are sitting on the shelf, if they understand this concept, the idea behind it, it's going to be the parents that buy these. Because most parents at some level truly want to help their children, even if they had bad childhoods, and they want them to learn more and be better children, better parts of our community. And I think the kids are going to give these credibility because they're fun, and they'll be in the toy store, but the adults are going to wind up being the ones that benefit the most and love them the most.
Wow. Richard, you are something else.
Fabulous!
Yeah.
Wow, that was
That
incredible.
was beautiful.
Hey,
You know,
I just gave you a new task though.
Yeah.
Create these scenarios.
I know, but I'm wondering though, do you have a favorite?
My favorite. You know, I just think that.
Do you have one in your car or in your office?
No, I don't.
Well, you'll have one today. Did you know that the rest of, when you go into the courthouse, all the gals that work back in the secretary's area and all that, they all have them?
Really?
Have you noticed it?
I have not.
If you go back into the county clerk's office,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
all of them have them on their desks. And what happened, just so you know, running for this position, when all of that broke with Mays, remember? And what was happening is all those women down there were getting the fire hose of rage from the public,
Right.
went to them, and I got wind of that, and I wrote to Davy Grime, and Michelle helped, and we loaded up with hot chocolates and stick men, and went over there and told them, I just want you to know, we appreciate the job you do. This has nothing to do with you, and here's your little buddy and some hot cocoa, because it was cold.
Yeah.
And they all kept them on their desks. They move them around. They, do that whole bit. But if you'll walk around the county courthouse, you're going to start
Now
seeing.
notice. Well, you know what this is, and it's interesting because, see, I would expect that more of women. They simply tend to be more emotional, more creative, more willing, and more engaged with children. For men, it's more of a barrier. I mean, just being honest, and it's harder to communicate. And these guys really are good little crutches for us. They
Right.
give us a way. You know, actually when I went through this little scene with my grandchildren, my daughter owns a little retail store, and she had to run to the store and said, "Will you be safe with these two alone for a little while?" And I went, "How long?"
Yeah. You're on.
Yeah, but it gave me a crutch. Wow, okay,
Right.
you know, it's like, you know, I always said to him, you know, if you'll just tell me what you want, we'll get this worked out. But this is another way to redirect whatever. I loved it.
Don't you think too, and I was thinking about, they're asexual. If you were playing Barbies with them,
Okay, let me restructure your language.
yeah,
It's genderless.
genderless.
That's the buzzword.
Okay, but like if Richard was, if he was in a store and he starts playing Barbies with them, it's not comfortable.
Yeah, I'd probably get accused of something.
Exactly. So from it is genderless, it is colorless, it is just people, and it's that.
You know, I
makes
hadn't
it
even thought of
genderless.
it that way, because you do have male and female and kids, and but that never was any kind of a subject with the kids. It really was just their dolls.
Okay,
You know,
we have
and
to-
maybe that's what you're saying.
Yeah, they're characters.
Yeah.
But I think that's.
Okay.
They're buddies.
But I
Well,
think
I
that's
mean, did you see
important.
some of the words that I used about them? I hadn't thought about those words, but these guys, these, you know,
Because
these
guys
friends.
are kind of an international phrase for people.
Oh yeah.
Well,
yeah.
the thing that I've learned throughout the deal is that guys, young guys, and Lee and I talk about this all the time, it's the teenagers.
I heard you say that, and I was so
Yeah,
surprised.
teenage boys are the #1 buyers of those in the mall. When they had them all in their test marketed, the teenage boys came up, they'd come up and they go, "What are those?" And they go, "They're about, oh, there's some stick men." He goes, "What are they about?" I goes, "Oh, about respect." Respect? That's what I want. You know, that's what I need. And be like
Oh,
gangsters,
how
even
funny.
gangsters with the big
Would
chains.
you go talk
Interesting.
about that real quick? Because that is a story that you're familiar with and
Yeah.
comfortable with.
Yeah.
And it's your experience,
Okay.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we won't
Good
take-
job.
Well, thank you.
That was
Thanks for
fun.
working with me.
Great.